I am going to introduce Dulan, who is going to be managing the afternoon. By the way, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Phyllis Roth, and I am the project director of Jasa Club 76.
Are you set? Please give your attention to Stu. Thank you very, very much.
Hello, everybody. Oh boy, I have a voice that carries without a microphone. First, I'm Stu Lon, a good friend of Otto's. He sat right next to me at lunch every day, and we both did Sudoku. But I was involved in a lot of the programs with him, and it is wonderful to see so many people who turned out for this occasion. A warm welcome to all of you to Club 76, Otto's home away from home. It's wonderful to see so many of Otto's family, friends, poetry classmates, creative writing. He was involved in everything. Here at the dais with me, I just want to introduce you Phyllis Roth, who just spoke a minute ago. She is the project director for Club 76. And Elaine Rockoff, who is the director of community-based programs for Jasa. Jasa is the Jewish agency for serving the aging. A warm welcome to Otto's family and friends who have joined us today. At the table up here, table 1, we have Gladys, Otto's wife, and we have her 4 sons, Mitchell, David, Saul, and Eli. Mitchell is behind the camera. Thank you so much, Mitchell. So this is all being recorded. Three of Otto's grandchildren are here. Miriam, Shoshana, and Jeffrey. Otto's sister Mildred Gazerski and her husband Leon. Gladys' sisters Evelyn Goldstein and Shirley Singer. Nephews, cousins, and all other family members. Also, welcome to the many family friends, poetry and creative writing classmates, and running mates for with Otto. Is Rabbi Mintz here? Not yet. Okay. We will introduce Otto's Rabbi Mintz when he arrives. He will be coming shortly. A testament to how many people Otto touched. Each of you should have a little program, and you'll see there are a lot of people who will be speaking today. To keep the program at a reasonable length, it was not possible to have everyone who may have wanted to speak publicly. We'll be serving, as Phyllis said, we'll be serving dessert, rugla, and coffee and tea and fruit at the conclusion of the program. So please feel free at that time to express your personal sentiments about Otto to any of the family members who are here. And now to begin our program, here is Phyllis Roth, Club 76 Director, friend, and fellow running mate of Otto. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's kind of a bittersweet day because we're all, and I want everybody to take a look and see what's going on here. This is kind of a testament to how wonderful Otto was and how he touched all of us. Now, I knew Otto before he came here, which was in about, I think, 2008, because I'm a runner and he was a runner, and I would see him on the course in Central Park. And most times he would be running with somebody. He was like the Mr. Mayor, and I really found that out when he and I began to run together once he came here and we became friends. There was never a path that we could run without him stopping to say hello to somebody or without somebody stopping him to catch up with him. In any event, I want to thank everybody for coming and tell you that you are sitting in Otto's home away from home. And this community really feels that way about this place. This is a senior center, however, we don't call ourselves a senior center. And it was on one of the walks with Otto and Ron and Stu and some of our other people that the guys decided they were really too much with it to be in a senior center, which has a pejorative kind of tone to it. So they were talking and talking, and we used to have all kinds of discussions when we walked, and they decided to call the place the club, because what is nicer than saying, meet me at the club for lunch, I'm having yoga at the club, etc. And so somebody else said, yeah, but let's make it Club 76, because that's where we are. So we became known as Jasa Club 76, and thanks to my boss, Elaine Rockcom, she got involved with the Department for the Aging, and we had our name formally changed, which is not an easy thing to do, you know, anything about dealing with city agencies. Otto was one of the first members of our drama group. He and I were the core, along with Stu and a couple of other people, but really Otto, of our walking group. And we used to walk on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there were some days that nobody else would show up. And he and I would walk, and we would solve the problems of the world, and we figured out if they would only listen to us, there would be peace in the Middle East, etc. Tuesday, we would walk, and then he would rush to his drama class. Thursday, we would walk, then he would rush to his Toby class. On Mondays, I used to do an exercise class, which I then gave to another consultant. But when I was doing the class, and Otto was faithfully there were times that I couldn't be there, so guess who ran the class? Otto, you're right, exactly. He was also a very involved advocate. And we happen to be Jasa's only senior center in Manhattan. So we get called on a lot to do a lot of things. And one of the things we get called on to do is to appear at City Hall and to advocate for senior issues. And he was always there. There wasn't a time that we went down to either speak to our city council person, or sometimes we would visit with our state assembly person, that he wasn't by my side. And he used to wear his Jasa walking hat, which was a red hat on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and when he was doing volunteer work, he would wear a blue hat. And Gladys very generously has established the Otto Mond Memorial Fund. And so the first expenditure has been for hats and t-shirts, and I just want to show you the hat. Yeah, so we have hats and we have orange t-shirts, and we really stand out at City Hall now. It's really important for City Hall to know who we are. We need to secure funding not only for ourselves, but for senior issues in general. And believe me, they know who we are. And I would like to give a hat to each of the boys. And Gladys. So, I will tell you that I had never heard Otto say a rude or negative word about anybody. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it sometimes. And not only that, but he was always a very, very calming influence. He was head of our grievance committee, which means that if somebody has a problem with somebody, they would go to Otto. But you know, with Otto, there were never any grievances, and I was telling one of his sons earlier that there was a senior here who was constantly on her cell phone. And we don't allow cell phones in this room. Could you imagine the chaos if everybody was on a cell phone? And we always say, please take it outside. And this woman refused. And when I spoke with her over and over, she threatened to hit me in the head with a chair. So she was sitting over there, and Otto was sitting over here. I didn't say a word, and I walked up, and Otto was head of the grievance committee, and I told him what happened. He says, don't worry, she's not going to hit you in the head, it'll be okay. That was Otto. He was wonderful. And we miss him very much. I miss him very much. And we want to say to the family, we share your pain, and yet we are buoyed up by all of the good memories that we've had with him. So thank you very much for coming.
Just a couple of quick things. Welcome, Rabbi Mintz. Just walked in. Welcome. The rabbi will be speaking shortly. I just received a text. Phyllis was talking about Otto's activity going to City Hall with us, advocating for our seniors. The new City Council person, Helen Rosenthal, just sent me a text which I will read to you. Was hoping to be at Otto's service today, but I am in a hearing that I can't leave. Please send my love to Club 76. Otto is my friend, and I am sad he is gone, but he is in my heart forever. Okay, now I'd like to introduce Elaine Rockoff.
There isn't much that I can add to what was already said about Otto. Clearly, the room and the people that are here are a testimony to who he was. Otto was an integral part of this Club 76, and he was an integral part of the community in which he lived, and he gave us so much, I think maybe more than we were able to give him. When it came to our attention that Otto was a marathoner, and I think it was written about in the New York Times, we thought he would be a great person to feature in this testimonial video that we were working on for last year's benefit. We have a new CEO at Jasa, and she has a vision that included Otto and having him represent the agency in a way that only he could. And so we had someone, a videographer, come out and meet with him, and he was featured, prominently featured in our testimonial video, and he and Gladys were guests at our annual benefit last year, so that all the people at the board and all of the guests who come to the benefit could meet with him and speak with him. Otto and I also had a personal connection. Some of your family are friends of mine and friends of my family. So whenever I would come here, we would schmooze about your family members who are my friends. And that added a nice layer to the relationship. Otto, I think his legacy lives on. It will always live on. And there's really nothing more I can say except he was truly a wonderful person. He was very inspiring. He was a bench, and it was a privilege to know him on a professional level and on a personal level.
Thank you, Elaine. As most of you probably know, one of Otto's great new inventions of himself was writing beautiful poetry. And he is part of the Hamilton Poetry Group. We have a whole table of his fellow poetry classmates. Of course, they were devastated when they heard of Otto's passing. And one of the people in the poetry class, Eileen Shepperton, immediately wrote a poem about Otto called The Marathon Man. Eileen?
Otto and I worked together in creative writing and poetry lessons for about 5 years. Otto's poems were published at the Jasa Club 76 newsletter, The Spirit, also in a poetry magazine called Lucidity. He was nice enough to lend me that magazine. Then I submitted poetry to it, and I was published there too. So I will always be grateful to Otto, and I wrote a poem for him. The Marathon Man. The Marathon Man is gone. Who would have foreseen that one held in esteem for his various feats would so soon be gone? The actor, the runner, the writer, the happiest man I knew, contented when others be blue, saw the jar as always half full. I thought there was none who was mightier. He pleased us with verses that rhymed. He did this most of the time. He looked on the bright side always, and would have you do it too. He wrote of some of his life, his first date with his beautiful wife. It was love at first sight that lasted their lives, which they lived fully and without strife. They had children, 4 sons, 10 grandchildren too, one rather new, the land of Israel to go to. What more could one want but that it would last an eternity? And so it will be in our memory. Otto, now rest in peace.
Thank you, Eileen. One of the things that I did after I was passed, I started remembering his beautiful poetry, always so optimistic and so real and touching. And I went back to all the past issues in 2013 of our monthly newsletter, The Spirit. And I started back in October because I knew Otto was ill in November and was collecting all the poems and putting them together in a book. And before I finished, I just decided for some reason to look at the November issue. And Otto had made a submission in November, and it is called Condolences. I'd like to read it now. One of the customs in contemporary society requires consolation calls to those who grieve. Visitors chat with mourners and mutually relate memories, anecdotes before they leave, recollections of the deceased, incidents of the past. Guests console mourners, but the die has been cast. Do the dead hear what is said of them, or the words said to soothe the mourners? Those who are famous and inscribed in history, are they aware of their place in our memories? We know not, yet we speculate. What is our destiny, our ultimate fate? Mere mortals in a world of mystery. I'd like to introduce Otto's sons. A tribute to my father, Mitchell and David Mond.
I am David Mond. My father, Otto Mond, of blessed memory, had a Hebrew name, Asher ben Yitzhak Isaac. He was given this name by his father on his 8th day of life, at the time of his circumcision, as per Jewish custom. Asher means fortunate, blessed, happy one. My father was named after his great uncle, but his original namesake was the 8th son of Jacob. According to the book of Genesis, Jacob blessed Asher with material and spiritual wealth. Asher was blessed to possess bread known for its richness, suitable to be served to kings, and olive trees whose oil, when lit, would serve as a spiritual light for other Jews. My grandfather, Isaac Mond, of blessed memory, emigrated as a young man after World War I from Austria-Hungary, where he lived in a town called Bruxa to escape religious and economic persecution. Once he arrived in the United States, he struggled financially, as many new immigrants did. Presumably, he was hoping for a better life and better future for his children when he named my father Asher. Over the past several years, I have recognized that on a personal and family level, my father's blessings of material and spiritual wealth have been fulfilled. Not in a Trump extravagant way, but in a modest and humble way he liked to live his life. He was a decorated Army veteran, had 2 masters in mathematics. He worked as a computer scientist. He had a loving wife and 4 children, as well as 10 grandchildren. He was able to provide for his family, pay for his children's religious education, and send all of his children to college and postgraduate schools. He owned a house and was able to retire comfortably in the Upper West Side. He served as a religious and spiritual mentor for his children. Today, we recognize the blessings of Usher have been fulfilled in the public arena as well. My father was able to enrich the lives and inspire the people at Jasa Club 76. His poetry, newsletter contributions, and acting made the people at Jasa happy. He was a community activist who advocated for funding for senior services and Club 76. His running inspired others to do the very best they could. He participated, encouraged, and often led the exercise programs at Jasa. In the many Jasa pictures, my father is seen helping others. The people at Jasa, Holocaust survivors, immigrants, children of immigrants, and respected elders, represent the true royalty of the city. My father's bread, the fruits of his labor, enriched the lives of the member of Jasa. And his oil, his actions, his leadership, inspired them. Today, I have heard the people at Jasa thank my family for my father's contributions. However, I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every member of Jasa Club 76. Thank you for this recognition according to my father today. Most of all, I would like to thank Jasa Club 76 for helping my father enjoy his life as he discovered new talents and reinvented himself as a poet, writer, actor, and community activist. On behalf of my father, Asher Ben Yitzhak Isaac, a blessed memory, thank you, Jasa Club 76, for enriching his life and inspiring him.
So I'm Mitchell, one of the 4 sons, and I actually want to continue where my brother left off about what Jasa did to, how Jasa was very important to my father, and that's shown by all the people that are here today. So I was going through some of his writings that he wrote before Jasa, and he wrote something called My Favorite Place. So you heard my brother use his words about how he liked Jasa. These are my father's words. One of the questions that new retirees have is how they will occupy their time during the day. The same issue was one which I faced as my retirement days grew closer. What would I do all day, not having to report to work? No responsibilities, no deadlines, no fixed schedules, and supposedly no obligations. I like to read and learn new things. Without a social or communal infrastructure, I couldn't see this as enough to occupy my time. These fears of boredom and idleness proved groundless, as I very quickly discovered the senior center at Jasa Club 76. Here was a place I fit right in. I could get out of the house, participate in physical activities such as walking group, exercise groups, yoga, tai chi, etc. And also managed to participate in more sedate games such as chess, bridge, Mind Quest, and others. They had movies, lectures, drama, poetry, and creative writing classes, plus special musical presentations for professionals and aspiring professionals. They served breakfast and lunch meals, small voluntary contributions, and had a monthly newsletter for member news and for presenting member submissions of articles and poetry. I found that I had a talent for poetry and creative writing, and I joined with the acting group in making presentations to the membership. Club 76 became part of my life. I learned new skills, improved my bridge and chess games, and volunteered whenever needed to help make the place run smoothly. One of the best features of the club was that we got to know people of diverse backgrounds. One is able to learn about different experiences while growing up and to appreciate the contributions of other cultures and societies. Club 76 is a special place in my heart. It is one of my favorite places. Thank you.
Now, another of Otto's sons, Saul, is going to read a poem written by Otto, What Shall I Ask For?
I just want to thank everyone for coming. Otto, my father. I'm going to read a poem that I read at Social tribute. What should I ask for? I ask for a long and healthy life, with minimum stress and minimum strife, with golden years of joy and grace, happiness, tranquility with one's place. No need for treasures or stores of jewels, nor fine garments or swimming. I ask for a long and healthy life with minimum stress and minimum strife. Thank you very much.
I think Mitchell mentioned that one of the other talents that Otto had of the men, he played chess, but he also was a bridge player. So he was a constant at Wednesday and Friday bridge games, and Monday sometimes he went to another bridge game, sometimes he was here. But one of his bridge partners, Norman Nelson, is going to play the piano for him in his Moonlight Sonata, first movement. Norman Nelson.
I'd like to dedicate this to Otto's memory.
She said she'd like to dedicate this to Otto's memory. Moonlight Sonata, first movement. Thank you, Noah. Just as a tribute to Otto, this is the most attentive and quietest I've ever seen this room. So, thank you. We all talked about Otto's many talents. Among them, one of the things we haven't talked about yet is the man of Torah. And Rabbi Adam Mintz will give us some words about Otto's role as a man of Torah. Thank you, Rabbi Mintz.
Thank you so much. I just want to begin by thanking Jasa for organizing this wonderful, wonderful tribute. And on behalf of the family, thanking everybody for coming out and for participating in a tribute for a wonderful, wonderful man. We heard before a poem about the marathon man. It's interesting what it means to be a marathon man. My image of a marathon man is somebody who runs alone, by themselves, somehow from the movies, I think on the beach, early in the morning, training for a marathon. Being a marathon man traditionally means to be very, very much alone. But Otto Mond represented for all of us a different kind of marathon man. He was a marathon man who used his running as a way to connect with people. He ran the marathons, at least some of them, with his children and grandchildren. Can you imagine sharing your talent with your children and your grandchildren and passing it on and participating with them? He would run together with friends, with acquaintances, with people who he had no idea who they were, but they were his running partners. And they would talk and they would participate, and maybe they would just share the moment together. And in many ways, and that's what you heard from David, the Asher Ben Yitzchak Isaac, Otto Mond, was someone who loved to share with others. He was one who came to our synagogue every single service. He came to every class, and he always wanted to meet the new people in shul, to tell a story about his younger years, about Torah B'das, about his father, about his days in Yeshiva University or in Monsey. And he always wanted to share with other people. He was a marathon man, but a marathon man who wanted to connect with other people. As he sat in Shabbos with Gladys in the Kiddush, he loved talking to his friends, but maybe almost as much meeting people who he didn't know as well, and talking to them and finding out who they were. There was nothing that made him happier than seeing someone in shul from Monsey, who he knew from a different time and a different era, and reconnecting together with them. There was actually someone in shul with whom he used to run in Monsey. That was just too enjoyable to connect with someone from Monsey and with a runner. He loved that so much. This time of year in the Jewish calendar is a time of countdown. We count down the 49 days between Pesach and Shavuot. We count down the time to the receiving of the Torah. Otto Mond knew about finish lines. Unfortunately for Mr. Mond, the finish line came too early. And we very much miss all of these things that we've described and talked about today. But the idea of always heading towards that finish line, of celebrating not only reaching the finish line, but actually working to get there, was something that Otto Mond stood for. We miss him. But as we reach that finish line, as we approach the holiday of Shavuot, we know that we will never forget Asher ben Yitzchak Isaac. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. Next we have one of Otto's favorite things, poetry. Is poetry teacher from the Hamilton Poetry Group, Michelle Dusabigi. Thank you.
I had the good fortune of knowing Otto over the 3 years that he was in our poetry workshop at the Hamilton Senior Center, where he wrote poems every single week that we had class. One of these poems, a beautiful elegy to his mother, begins with these words: "How do I honor whom I dearly love, who has gone to greater glories, and now rests serene and silent, the one from whose womb I burst forth as a child." As he honored his mother, how can we honor Otto now, a man who gave us so very much? I looked through his poetry to find my way, and there I found over and over the gifts he brought to us every week. His joy and pride, love, belief in family and friendship, generosity, hard work and perseverance, his respect for wisdom and embrace of the new and of new generations, his love of learning and knowledge, his desire to be useful, to investigate, to excel, and to enchant. I found his philosophical questions about the soul. I found his humility, and of course, his humor. In his poems, he wrote, "Enjoy life around you, a good joke and a smile." He wrote, live life gracefully with hope and patience." One way to honor Otto is to read and reread his poetry. How he wrote is how he lived, and how, if we persevere like Otto, we too can try to live. I will read 2 of his poems. The first was one of his favorites, The Living Room Table. The living room table. How we marveled at the living room table. Fashion decreed it to be large but stable. My brother and I around it to play when forced inside on a rainy day. No TV those days, the radio barely amusing. We played and studied, our boredom diffusing, told tales and jokes amidst lots of schmoozing, content with books and newspaper perusing. We improvised games on this table of oak, cards and checkers and toys, new or broke. Board games and others did pleasure invoke, avoiding tedium, good for us and the folk. Those days are gone, part of vivid recollections. Homebound hours turn to gleeful affections. Table fashions have changed to modern directions. The old table's been replaced with newer selections. And the second poem is useful. When one is retired and cannot be hired because time and age have accomplished their goal, forget the chronology, defy the biology, do something useful for spirit and soul, volunteer. There is always a place that you can use as a base to become useful and fulfill a need. Work as an aid, whether gratis or paid, you'll feel good and you're doing a good deed. Or else do something you haven't done before, write poems or memoirs, or work in a store, keeping busy by learning and doing, but be truthful. See if you like these new situations. They cannot replace your old occupations, but they'll keep you happy and make you feel youthful.
And another of Otto's favorite things was being part of the drama group. I'll never forget the first day I came here, I joined the walking group. And, I'm sorry. I skipped Professor Andrew Warren, creative writing. I almost skipped. Creative writing certainly goes with poetry.
Thank you. It's been 3 years now since I started teaching here the creative writing workshop. And at the beginning we were here in this room. It was not conducive to writing. Then we moved downstairs in the rabbi's study. It was much, much better. We had a great time, but the point is that Otto was always on my right. From the very beginning, he was my deputy. I remember, I used to write these assignments, so about 3 or 4 pages, 3 or 4 lines long, and I would write maybe 5 or 6 of them on one sheet of paper and line between them. And in the beginning, I used to tear those pieces of paper so I could hand out these assignments. But Otto had this great idea to bring in a pair of scissors, and he would cut, and that became his job. He was very proud of it. He brought in a pair of scissors and he hid it inside between 2 books in rabbi study, and every time I would pull out my sheet of paper with the assignments, he'd be there with the scissors in his hand, ready to cut the papers. He never missed it once. I think maybe once he did miss it. He went to Israel on vacation, but other than that, he was always with us. My assignments over the 3 years got to be a little more esoteric as we went on because I ran out of ideas of what to give them. And I remember one of the assignments was describe what you would feel if you walked into a delicatessen and all those wonderful smells overwhelmed you. Otto, true to himself, wrote about the olfactory gland. He's the only one who got it. That's okay. The other thing, he also, another assignment that I had was write about a Seder that you spent with your family. Otto wrote about the philosophy behind Passover. It was a wonderful essay, very creative and very well researched. Above all, Otto was a scientist. He always made sure that he researched everything that he handed in to us. Every time his assignments were typed, double-spaced, 1-inch margins, and they were wonderful. I was always happy to have him. In fact, after he left us, very unexpectedly, it was never the same. He was a terrific guy. He was an optimist. He was intelligent. He was happy. He was decent, and he believed in all of us. Believed in the decency, even though somehow I lose faith. But he always believed it. He was a terrific guy, and I will certainly miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Another of Otto's great talents was drama. When I first came here, I joined a walking group on a Tuesday. We walked in Central Park, and we're walking back, and Otto says to me, "Okay, we're going to drama now." I said, "What?" I never acted before in my life. "Yeah, come on, you'll like it." And I've been in the drama class ever since. We have a lot of fun. But let me just tell you that Otto joined this drama group when it was just starting, and there were hardly any people in the class. And with Otto's influence, the class grew and grew. To now, there are about 10 or 15 people who participate in the drama performances. Otto had played many roles, both monologues and with members of twice yearly drama workshop performances. Our drama workshop teacher, Scott Clavin, is unable to be here today due to a prior commitment. He asked that I please convey this message from him, which I will read now, I guess as an understudy. Scott Clavin's message. Otto was one of the first students to take our drama class, and he was one of the main reasons the class was able to continue and succeed. We could depend on Otto. He showed up. He was a grown man, a secure, experienced, mature, caring guy. He played many different parts in our shows and was always committed and consistent. He didn't take himself too seriously. My favorite was his performance as the gym coach who chews out his athletes but secretly smokes. The problem is that you take a guy like Otto for granted. Now we miss his reliability, kindness, humor, and strength of character. I learned a lot from Otto, not about drama, but about real life, about how to live. I know I speak for other students in the drama class when I offer his family our thanks and love and condolences. Just personally, Otto was known as a quiet man, but if you come to drama performances, he was anything but quiet, playing his roles with verve and enthusiasm. As you can see in the collage that we passed around, a few of them were from drama performances, the collage of pictures. And you'll notice that Otto was probably the only one in the drama class who always dressed for the part. He played the role of a butcher with Rosie Stubb. He played in the Price by Arthur Miller as a policeman, and he wore a policeman's uniform. Hopefully he didn't wear it outside to get arrested for impersonating an officer, but he wore it here. When Otto became ill in November 2013, we had a drama performance, and we dedicated it, which was the first one he had missed. It was dedicated to our friend and fellow actor, Otto Mond, and we miss him. Thank you. As I said earlier, there are a lot of people who would love to come up and speak about Otto. Just given the time constraints, we had to limit it, but there are a few people who will come up and say a few words. Ed Sommerfeld, President of our Advisory Council. Thank you.
How about a nice hand for Stu, please? I want to acknowledge also, I'd like to acknowledge the lady that met most of you people at the front door, Sephora Schlesinger. She arranged all this today with Phyllis and Stu. I want to acknowledge Irene, Alana. I think you did a terrific job. I think everyone was seated with their friends and loved ones. And I'm very happy for the turnout. I'm sure Phyllis and Stu are, and Elaine. When I was at Sundays at Jasa a couple of months ago, I was with Ron Cohn, who's going to be speaking next. Ron, I didn't realize it, but he lived in the same building as Gladys and Otto, 185 West End Avenue. So after the Sundays at Jasa, which is at John Jay College, terrific organization, and thanks a lot for that, Ron said to me, you know, I live in the same building as Otto. So why don't we go over there after the class at John Jay? And I said, hey, that's a good idea. I had been there before, but this time Ron said, you know, we'll go over. It was a Sunday. Right, Ron, you were with me. And we went over, and we went upstairs, and I said to Ron, shouldn't we ring the bell or let them know we're coming up, give a phone call? He said, no, just go right up. We'll knock on the door. Gladys is probably there. And when we got there, no one answered the door. We knocked again, and no one answered the door. I don't think you know it was Gladys. And we stayed for about 2-3 minutes, and then Ron said, gee, I don't know, maybe we'll go down to the lobby and ask the doorman. And we did. And the doorman said, no, Mr. Mond was just taken to the hospital. And that was the last time I had an opportunity to speak with Otto. As you heard today, this was a rare human being. Some people call it a mensch, whatever a mensch is, he personified it. So I'm going to introduce Ron Cohn. Ron is a dear friend. Let's welcome Ron.
I retired from work about 4 years ago for the first time. And what was I going to do with myself for the rest of my life? It's frightening. I noticed a man who I basically knew as a neighbor. I noticed him coming home from somewhere every day with a big smile on his face. A smile and a feeling of peace and confidence. And I'm saying, what is this man all about? So I asked him and I said, Otto, I know you as a neighbor. Why are you so happy? And Otto said to me, I just came from Jasa. And I said, what is a Jasa? And he said, do me a favor, meet me in the lobby, and I will take you to Jasa. Well, I spent a sleepless night because I had no idea what he was talking about. So the next morning I got up at 8:30 because he wanted me to walk in the park for about 3 miles. This was my introduction to Phyllis and Jasa. Anyway, to make a long story short, I stayed for 1 year with Otto in yoga classes, in drama classes. He even took me to a poetry class at Hamilton once. And I even wrote a poem. And then I said to Otto, what did you think of it? And he smiled. And he never criticized, because that was not Otto to criticize. He smiled at me. And I said, well, I guess it was okay, because from Otto's smile, you were able to get an entire conversation. Now, this is going to be tough. what I really enjoyed was being with Otto on Yom Kippur, the highest holy day of the year. I would go with no one else would I sit together on Yom Kippur except Otto. I felt that I had to be with him. And why? We weren't allowed to speak. We had to be fervent, religious, prayerful, observant. Just being with him gave me a sense of serenity, of peace, of happiness. And then what happened? Otto got me to duchen. I didn't know what the word meant. And he said, I want you to go up there and put a tallis on your head, and I want you to pray for the congregation. I almost fainted. I was doing it. I went up because Otto requested it. And I felt so powerful and so happy that he asked me to do that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ron. The next person who's going to speak is Wendy Lugan. And she, I understand, was in the poetry and creative writing classmate of Otto's. So let's give Wendy a nice welcome, please.
I met Otto at a mayoral debate this past summer at New York University. We hadn't seen each other for a few years. We were in a poetry workshop at Hamilton Senior Center, and he then invited me to poetry and creative writing workshops at Jasa, which I did join. On that bright, sunny morning, Otto greeted me with his big smile, welcoming. He was warm and generous. We caught up on our lives since seeing each other, his beloved family, my new volunteer activities. When I heard about his passing, I cried. I wrote a poem, Firefly, for Otto. Pale blue and white flowers, springing near my friend's resting place. He is peaceful in sleep, a life filled with love and ambition, laughter and light and intelligence, kind and gentle, a radiant glow from deep within, bringing joy to all who knew him, a smile embedded in his eternal flame, reflected in his shining spirit.
Thanks so much, Wendy.
Thank you.
The next speaker who wants to say a few words also is a family friend, Rini Hanau. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Rini? Thank you.
Hello. You all heard a little bit about 185. Well, I'm going to tell you just a little bit more. Sometime in the late 90s, a couple walked into our holiday party, which we're famous for because we started having a holiday party and now all the buildings do the same. And there we saw a couple and people who are the same age, of the same, have similar interests, sort of smell each other out. And so we looked at this couple and we introduced ourselves and we found out that they were not like us, that they were empty nesters. They had two wonderful sons that they married off very, very quickly and produced many grandchildren in the time that we've known them. But anyway, we became friends. And I'm a bridge player. I'm not a good player, but I enjoy the game. And there's a lady sitting here named Rhoda Turkel, and she overheard Otto say that at Jasa he plays bridge. So she told him about our game, which is held in the library of 185 now. 185 West End is the only place that has a library. And we play bridge there every Monday from 1 to 4. But Otto said he would come. She persuaded him, and he came. And he proved to be quite a good player because he concentrated, he knew math. The only thing that we had to do for Otto, he didn't want to miss any trick. We had to start the game at 1:15. And we played, and in fact, the last time we played, Otto already was sick. We persuaded him to come down. He was a very good player. Anybody who knows about bridge knows that when somebody doubles you, they know that they're trying to get you down. Otto was very fair, and in a very low voice he would double you. And we loved playing with him. Otto came from Jasa, and he always very enthusiastically told us about what he had done and what was going on there. And I had another ulterior motive, knowing Otto. We played bridge in the library. Well, I run the book club at 185. And whenever there was a book that I wasn't sure people would like, I would give it to Otto to read. He was a voracious reader. And Otto didn't only know that he read a book. Otto kept a journal of every book that he ever read in his life. So before he would even take the book, he would say, I'm going upstairs, next week I'll let you know if I'll read the book for you. And I always relied on Otto's opinion, and very often we shared it. And once in a while, he told me I was over the top. But that's what friends are for. And my husband and I, when we socialized with the Mond and had lots of sympathy with the Mond, and we were very devastated at the quick death of our dear friend. And we miss him and hope to God he rests in peace. Thank you.
Played with Otto, and you know, bridge players are very argumentative, and Otto was always the pacifier and the peacemaker among the bridge players.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
Shirley Huckabee.
Shirley Nakron.
Okay. That was delightful, Rini. It was so heartfelt and so touching. I know he was a big reader. He also saved a lot of pictures, too, when I was there. The next speaker we're going to have is a young lady, Pat Dasco, also a friend of Otto's, and she is a poet also. Let's welcome, please, Pat Dasco.
All I can say is I'm so privileged to be in a room where the aura of this man that so many people love, miss, and respect. We should all be so lucky when we pass over. When the Hargrave Senior Center back in 2012 was going to be closing, I went 2 blocks over to the Hamilton to see what I could find. And there, for the first time, I realized there was a poetry workshop. I had no idea it was even there. So I immediately signed up. My first workshop was in November, and when Michelle asked all of us to introduce ourselves, I hear the name Otto Mond, and I kept going, I know that name, I know that name. Yes, I go home into my file, I find a program from May 2011, and I still had it there, of course, was Otto's name in the program. So I brought it into him, and that was our first connection. I'm wearing this t-shirt today from the Irish Arts Center, Book Day 2012, because the week before St. Patrick's Day in workshop, I wore it to remind everybody that St. Patrick's Day would be giving out our books that we give every year, the Irish books for free. Otto just lit up. You're involved with that? I got a great book last year. I said, well, then don't forget it this year. And that was our second connection. Now, this was a man who could rhyme. And he could rhyme without making it cliche. He could rhyme without making it sound silly. And he had the audacity to write a poem about the value of stapling one piece of paper. So when I was looking for something appropriate to read today, since I'm not a decent rhymer, I found a poem that I hope fits the scene because it does rhyme. Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep by Mary Elizabeth Fry, 1992. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the thousand winds that blow. I am the softly blowing snow. I am sunlight on a field of ripening grain. I am the gentle showers of rain. When you awake in the morning hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet gulls in circling flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. I am the flowers that bloom. I am in a quiet room. I am the birds that sing. I am in each living thing. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Thank you.
Pat, that was delightful. You can see you got some wonderfully talented people. Maybe Otto's talent rubbed off on a few people. They seem so talented themselves. Anyway, the next person I'd like to introduce is also a dear friend of Otto's. He shared a table when he came here for lunch. He ran track with him, the marathon. I'd like you to welcome a real dear friend of Otto's, Mr. Henry Theobald.
Thank you. I met Otto many, many years ago doing races in different areas, Central Park, Van Cortlandt Park. We went to New Jersey, we went to Connecticut, and we went to Rockland, and we enjoyed our companies immensely. We always met at the start of the race, and at the finish of the race, we met to see how well we did or how well we didn't do. And then when Otto retired, he said to me, why don't you come down to Jasa? And being Otto, I said, fine, I'll do it. I come from the Riverdale section of the Bronx, and I have to take the subway down, but Otto was such a special person that I came down here, and now I come approximately once a week. And then when Otto, we were members of the Roadrunners Club, and I would usually come down on a Thursday or a Friday, because we would go over to the Roadrunners Club on those days to get our numbers and T-shirts for the race on the following Sunday. And when Otto normally would do creative writing on Thursday. Friday, he would do his bridge game. And whenever I would come, he would say, you're gonna have to wait for me an hour or more. And I would say, Otto, no problem, I'm not that busy a person, and I enjoy your company so immensely. So we would go, after he was finished with what he would be doing here, we would walk up to 86th Street, and then walk through the Central Park to 89th Street and the Roadrunners Club to pick our numbers and shirts up for the race. And then when Otto, unfortunately, got sick, and he couldn't come to the center any longer, he couldn't come here, I would call Gladys or speak to Otto at his home to see if I was able to visit. And whenever they told me I was able to go there, I would come to the center and have lunch, and then I would go over to see Otto for as long as he wanted me to. And Gladys was so happy that I did so. And then the week before Otto passed away, the Friday, I was so happy that I was able to see him. And it was a tough thing to do, but I got through it. And Otto was just a super, super person, one of a kind, and I just miss him immensely. Thank you very much.
all right to come over, and if it was, he went right over. Henry, I want to thank you very much. Again, there's another gentleman that a friend of Henry's and also a friend of Otto's who'd like to say a few words. I'd like to introduce Mr. Bert Robbins. Bert, can you come up here, please? Let's give Bert a nice round of applause. I understand Phyllis just told me that Bert comes in from Far Rockaway, which is not a short trip, as we know, so we appreciate you coming here, Bert. I know the Otto's family appreciate it. Thank you.
Otto and I have a lot in common. We're both marathon runners, and we're both poets, and I didn't realize how close I was to Otto until looking at the Otto Memorial Program. I came onto this earth August 31st, 1932, and Otto followed me September 4th, 1932. And I'm blessed to be here, to be able to contribute to this wonderful memorial. I write poetry, as I said, and this is a tribute to Otto Mond, a humane human being, a man who met the challenges of life, a man who gave life his very best try. From cradle to crawl, stand and walk and then run, challenges met as a child was a life well begun. Progress he learned at home, street, and school, learned the cornerstone of all major religions, learned the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. This is what Otto Mond did certainly do. Otto reached his prime, and boy did he supply, by giving, yes, giving life his very best try. The time comes to all when it must by and by, when we're not as limber and we're not as spry, but Otto continued to the end to give his very best try. So be a babe in arms or wise wizened sage, like Otto, give life your very best effort, whatever your condition or age. Through life, keep up your very best pace, and like Otto Mond, you'll be a winner in this human race. Otto, you have passed on, but you are not forgotten. Thank you. Thank you.
So proud of some of these people that Otto's influenced. It's amazing. I want to take now the opportunity to introduce Otto's wife, and she will discuss a fund that she started. Gladys, can you please come up here? Let's give Gladys a round of applause.
I'm not a public speaker. I'm just going to read this. And I want to thank all of Otto's relatives and friends for coming to the special memorial tribute to my husband. I especially want to thank Phyllis Rock, project director of Club 76 and Stu Land, for making this event possible. They and the committee spent many hours planning and executing all the many details to celebrate Otto's life as a member of Jasa 76, Roadrunners, and other organizations. He was nationally known as the 80-year-old marathon man who was also a poet, inventor, mathematician, computer scientist, biblical scholar, actor, and writer. My children, Mitchell, David, Eli, and Saul, want to show our appreciation to Jasa 76 by creating an Otto Mond Memorial Fund to serve as an inspiration to everyone to achieve more in his or her life and to redefine to the world what it meant to be an active octogenarian and a humanitarian. Thank you.
I think a lot of you know how active Gladys has been the last several months. And I want to once again acknowledge Sulan and Phyllis and Sephora. I keep forgetting Sephora. And where is Norma Nelson? Norma? Is Norma in the room? No, I want to acknowledge Norma also playing beautifully. And I'm going to introduce now Sulan. What do you want to say?
I'm pulling rank for a second. You get to be the director only once. Anyway, I do want you to know that this program started as a labor of love, but it didn't just spring forth by itself. There were many, many people who were involved in this who gave it the life it has. And really, I had met with the committee and I said, I'm not going to mention any names. I am just going to give a blanket thank you, because everybody in their own way was involved, aside from some of the names you heard. However, I will say that Sulan and I exchanged emails at 12 and 12:30 in the morning. Sue, I hope you don't mind. And Sephora really worked very, very hard on the organizing and the artwork, aside from all of the other people. So I really want to give everybody a round of applause.
This is a poem that Sulan has written.
I didn't write it.
You want to recite it?
Yes.
This is another poem that Sue is going to
I'll tell them.
cheer up on.
Only Otto could write a poem like this. And I think you've heard the message over and over again of Otto's optimism, his faith in people, his encouragement to people in his own quiet way, people following him and following his example, a true mensch. But here's his message to us. This is one of the poems that Otto wrote, August 2013 issue of the Spirit, and it's called Cheer Up. One cannot know what you think of yourself, but I'll venture my belief that you're wrong. Though you feel old and forgetful in many fields, in others you are quite strong. Your abilities and interests and enviable talents, the wonderful things you are able to do. A leader and a teacher, admired by many, like a boatswain leading a rowing crew. A person who discerns what needs to be done and shows active interest, expansive and wide, performs many tasks and does different jobs, succeeding with happiness, joy, and pride. So, my friend, take heart and rethink your life. What you've accomplished in your many years, do not despair what the future will bring. Dispel depression and put away fears. Thank you, God. Okay, I see that the dessert has started to come around. Thank you all for your wonderful attentiveness. It is surely deserved for Otto. We appreciate everybody who's here, and the rubber look are on their way, so don't leave. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Pat, very nice. Shirley, Sephora, once again. I appreciate all of you coming. This was a wonderful, wonderful luncheon for a wonderful, wonderful man. Thanks again.